The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome everybody right here to the Paranormal View on the Para X Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. Those in the chat room and those listening from around the world, we appreciate each and every one. Tonight we got a great show, and I know I haven't been on live for a few weeks, but I've been in business of having to sell a house, move, and try and get things set up. So I am far from being set up, but I am in good enough shape now to try and do a show anyway. So I want to welcome everybody here tonight, and hope you have a great time. Those, if you do have questions tonight, you can private chat them to Barbara, Ceiling Cat, or myself, Henry Foister, and we will get those questions answered for you. And if you're listening from somewhere else around the world and you don't want to come into the live chat room, then feel free to send us email to theparanormalview@gmail.com, and we will monitor those and get those questions also. Tonight we have with us Barbara Duncan.
Good evening, everybody.
And one who has been away for a long time. He gets a night off, and he wanted to spend it here with us.
Absolutely.
Mr. Jeffrey Gould.
Hello. I'm sorry for my absence. I actually got a Saturday day off without having to ask for it.
Well, that's good. And
yeah.
we have a great guest tonight, as always. He's like almost a regular on here from time to time. So I'm going to let Jeff introduce our guest.
Yes, well, so no one has ever heard of tonight's guest, some Tom Wertman guy. Oh, wait, no, he's one of our most favorite returning guests. And that being said, my own absence from the show has been so annoyingly long. Let's see how out of date my bio info is for him. The former dean of the American National University, Thomas Wertman, is the state director at MUFON and former co-director at, but still works with, the Cleveland Ufology Project. Having studied business, human resources in Kaplan University, Thomas has learned to read people when it comes to interviewing UFO witnesses and abductees. So welcome back, Thomas Wertman. Yay.
Hey, I'm here. And that was pretty close. That was pretty close, Hunter Jeffrey. I've got a couple more things I'll have to update you later on.
Oh, neat. Cool.
Coming up.
Well, we're glad that you're here tonight, because we like those guests that come in that we ask one little question and they can talk for 20 or 30 minutes.
Right, we got to have a barbecue and.
Yeah. well, actually, I haven't got a beer out yet, but I do have this Crystal Head vodka skull sitting on my desk that I don't know. Maybe I should go after that.
Is that the vodka from what's his name?
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd. Filtered through diamonds.
Oh yes.
Herkimer diamonds. Yeah, that's how they filter them.
Yeah.
It's mellow vodka, too.
I haven't tried it yet. One of the guys got it for me for my retirement gift.
Ah.
Oh.
And I swear that one of these days when I have a bad day, I'm going to crack it open.
It doesn't have a burn to it at all. It's very mellow stuff.
Good.
You'll like it.
Good.
I take it you're speaking from experience, Barbara?
Yes. I love the vodka, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not a vodka drinker for the most part, because it used to, it's burning, nasty stuff, but this stuff is actually pretty darn mellow.
Oh,
it comes in a nice crystal skull.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, if my voice gets slurred before the night's over, you know what happened. It's
so
good
before
to be
the
back.
show, before the show got started, we were talking about the Nimitz video.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that is just fascinating.
Yeah, and there's more stuff that keeps coming out on that all the time. And when the story first broke back in like 2017, the information came out about it. It kind of hit all the major news media, Fox, CNN, all of them. And it just kind of like, disappeared for a while because it was like yesterday's news. Next thing you know, it rears its head again because there's a few more things coming out, like a pilot comes out and starts talking about it. He starts giving his information. There's UFO researchers in the background contacting witnesses, putting a lot of story all together, putting the pieces together. And then there's other things that come out, like the Navy admitting that, yeah, these are actual videos that the public's seen on the news media. They're actually naval videos. Now, the confusion was that they were actually cleared to come out. The information I have is they were not completely cleared, let's say, to hit the public. They were cleared for internal use. But then by whatever means, they ended up sneaking their way out in the major media, and they came through a group called To the Stars Academy. They got out in the mainstream media, and then once they got out, they couldn't deny that they're actual true videos of unknowns taken from military aircraft. So, the story goes on that not just a pilot came out, but other pilots. So another pilot came out and started talking about his experiences. The first video, by the way, called the gimbal video, was taken off the coast of California. Mm-hmm. David Fravor, the pilot, and he was actually the flight commander of the crew off the Nimitz, confirmed that. Mm-hmm. And they said he also had contact with the pilot of a second incident, 2014, 2015, off the coast of the Carolinas. And that was the crew of the Teddy Roosevelt. They also had an encounter, a couple different encounters. And there's two videos out. One is called the gimbal video, which means that a camera is being able to rotate and follow the object.
Right.
That video, and also one called Go Fast, are from the Teddy Roosevelt, not from the Nimitz. And I think there's a lot of confusion initially about that, where the videos were taken at, the time frames, and so forth.
So Chad Underwood is from the Nimitz, right?
David Fravor is from there. Now,
so the Tic Tac video is Chad Underwood.
Well, you've also got different ones. Now, the first video came out, one called the non-gimbal.
Okay.
That was the one that David Fravor described.
Okay.
And what happened is he did not film that. He was on a flight that encountered the object off the coast of California initially, back in 2004, 2005 timeframe. And he was directed to an area where they'd been seeing unknowns for over a 2-week period. So when he goes out to that region, he's being directed out there by a guided missile cruiser, the USS Princeton. There's also an E-2 Hawkeye in the region, which is a radar dome plane. The radar dome plane normally manages the aircraft in the air, but they couldn't get a good lock on the object, so the Princeton, which had a very high-tech radar system, they directed David Fravor out. And when he got out, per what David Fravor described, as he's narrowing the distance down, he can't track it on his radar. He's getting close, he's getting close, he's getting close. He can't get it, but eventually he picks up a visual on an object just above the water. So he decides to descend from like 20,000 feet down to the oceans to see if he can see this object, get a good look at it. And as he's descending, he describes making like a clockwise type large circular motion descending down to the water. And as he's descending down, he said when he got to about 14,000 feet, the object that he described as being a Tic Tac appeared to actually see him, turn towards him, and start mirroring his path coming up. So they're actually kind of like on opposite sides of the circle. He's going down, it's coming up. And when he decides to cut across the circle to, see if he can get to the shortest point or line between 2 points,
Like an intercept?
As an intercept is he's going across, the object then zips out of sight and is completely going over the horizon in a matter of seconds. The thing about this is, which is good, is you just didn't have David Fravor see it, but you also had his wing person, which had maintained an altitude of 20,000 feet. Now, the wing person is still in the military and has given like a verbal description, but not given their name because they're still in active service. So David Fravor said that this thing went so fast, he said it was faster than any aircraft that he knows that we have in our arsenal. That's how fast it disappeared. When he returned to the Nimitz, he informed the crew on the Nimitz, the other pilots, what he'd seen. And, of course, he got a lot of ridicule about what he'd seen, that he was chasing flying saucers and UFOs. But they went ahead and equipped later flights with the FLIR cameras. And that video called the non-gimbal was taken by a later flight, not his. There was a lot of, I think, confusion initially that he was the one who filmed it, but he wasn't. The later flight did. In the later flight, you see this object pretty much stationary. Mm-hmm. But there's a point in the video where this object, it's like the pilot's like almost like following this thing, but then all of a sudden you see this object disappear off to the left side of the screen at a high rate of speed. And per Fravor, that was moving off the screen at a speed, he says, that was extreme. He didn't think it was any aircraft that we had as fast as it moved. So what's happened recently, in addition to those stories, Barbara, you also have several other individuals out in that Nimitz case that were involved. You had Kevin Day come forward, who was like the fire control personnel on board the Princeton, who was actually monitoring for like this 2-week period the objects that were being tracked off the coast of California. He was the one who brought the captain's attention that these things could be of a danger, since these things are in a area which there's military exercises being conducted. And they do a lot of training exercises in that region about 100 miles southwest of San Diego. And they were concerned that there could be a collision, that they really needed to investigate this to find out what was going on. You had
collision, or they are afraid that somebody's doing recon work?
Could be a little bit of both, but the biggest thing is you've got a lot of aircraft operating out there, and they didn't know who it was. Now, at first, they actually thought it could have been potentially like somebody running drugs up along the coast. And just today, they had a picture of on one of the news agencies of a submarine they actually brought in. The submarine was made in the jungle. It was basically a home-built submarine that they had, I don't know how many tons of drugs in this thing.
Wow.
So they thought maybe it's an aircraft coming up along the coast running drugs, or potentially an aircraft had crashed going into, let's say, California. It had crashed maybe on approach. But since these things had been seen for like a 2-week time frame, going anywhere from 80,000 feet down to sea level, and their motions were pretty much the same each time. They would track them. They would see the same type of motions from these objects. And they knew that, number one, they weren't military. And they just couldn't identify it. So that's when they finally said, hey, we got to find out what's going on.